Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this evening's meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. Before we get started with tonight's agenda, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Epiqua Mi'kmaq First Nations people. And as a community, we recognize the ever-present systemic inequities that stem directly from past wrongdoings, and we commit ourselves indefinitely to respecting and reconciling this long history of injustice. Now we'll move to tonight's agenda. The first item on tonight's agenda is, of course, as always, approval of the agenda. So at this time, I am seeking a motion for approval of the agenda. I see Sam. The floor is yours.
Yeah, motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you very much, Sam.
And for the approval of the agenda.
Great. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see seconded by Tasneef. And seconded by Tasneef. Sam, would you like to speak to that motion?
Let's get her done.
Thank you, Sam. Would anyone else like to speak to that motion? That would include making any changes to tonight's agenda. Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. Vote using the polling process. All in favor, all opposed, anyone who wishes to abstain. And this is for approval of tonight's agenda as presented. So that has carried. We will now move to the next point of our agenda for this evening. Let me go ahead and share that with you. There we go. So we have tonight's agenda. The next item that we have on the agenda for this evening is approval of the minutes from the October 8th council meeting. So this was a council meeting that was convened prior to our full council being seated. So if you are a newly elected councillor, so someone who was sworn in at the last council meeting, then you are ineligible to vote or move a motion in regards to the approval of these minutes. With that in mind, I will now take a motion for approval of the October 8th minutes.
I would like to raise a motion to approve the October 8th minutes, and that's Malik.
Thank you, Malik. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Tasneef. Malik, would you like to speak to the minutes?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to the October 8th minutes? So this would be any issues or any mistakes that you had noted in the minutes. You would let me know right now.
Actually, can I speak to the minutes?
Yes, Malik.
I noticed that our ombudsperson's first name was misspelled. I can write the spelling in the chat, I guess.
In the October 8th minutes?
Oh, never mind. Not speaking to the wrong minutes. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the October 8th minutes? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor, all opposed, and those who wish to abstain. So councillors who were not sworn in at this time would abstain. If you could go ahead, and if you are abstaining, please note your name in the chat box so that I can record it for the minutes. That motion carries. So for abstentions, I have Sam McLean, business rep. I have Jennifer Stewart. I have Nellie. I have Star. I have Akini. I have Alla. And I have Samuel. Great. That motion is carried. We'll move on to the next minutes. The next item on the agenda for this evening is approval of the minutes from the October 25th council meeting. So at this time, I am seeking a motion for the approval of those minutes. I see first year representative Adam.
I move to approve the minutes from the October 25th council meeting.
Thank you for your motion, Adam. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see seconded by Sam, education rep. Would anyone, thank you for the motion moving and seconding. Adam, would you like to speak to those minutes?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to those minutes? Malik, perhaps?
I was just gonna unmute myself. So I had already emailed our deputy chair, but I guess for convenience sake, our ombudsperson's first name is misspelled.
Okay, I will have that addressed and updated.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to these minutes?
Were we supposed to receive something for the minutes?
Yes. Did you not receive the minutes?
I didn't receive it.
Okay. Who did not, or did anyone else not receive the minutes? Okay. Alla, what I'm going to ask you to do is to abstain from this. I will circulate the minutes to you. And if there is any issues, we can address them at a future council meeting.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so Alla needs minutes. I'll make sure to update the deputy chair's mailing list. Would anyone else like to speak to these minutes? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes, all opposed, and anyone who wishes to abstain. If you wish to abstain, please note your name in the chat, except for Alla, because I already have your name down. Great, that motion has carried. I see there were two abstentions, and Carrie is the other abstention. Thank you, Carrie. That has carried. We'll now move on to our next agenda item for this evening, which is into reports. The first report for this evening will be the president's report. Brian, I'm going to give you the ability to share screen.
Awesome, thank you.
There we go. You should have the ability to share screen and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Okay, can everybody see? Wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna get started. I'm gonna try to go as quickly as I can with this report. However, it's quite lengthy because again, I'm extremely busy preparing for transition and also finishing up for my term and the projects that I have. So the first item on my report would be the meeting with the SAVs. So I was able to meet with Alison Brown, who is the president of the SAVs, to discuss how to best support AVC students, particularly in this time. They've been finding it particularly challenging, and it came forward with one thing that was proposed was to prepare study snack bags for them. So I was able to work with the administrative assistant at the UPEISU and get those bags prepared. We prepared in total 280 study snack bags, and they were given away on Friday, and they were placed in the mailboxes of the students. And I also got a very nice email from the president on Friday to confirm that a lot of students really appreciated this because it's been quite a challenging time and they really liked the attention for that thing. So that was like a really great thing that we were able to do. Supplies interview. So we had the supplies interview. I think Yumikun, as our VP Finance, had one of the interviews for that one. And I was also had another interview with 2 fourth-year students. They were working on a needs assessment on a food bank project and looking really at how our supplies work and how complementary the relationship is between our food bank and also the UPEI Chaplaincy Center Food Bank. And we also will be following up based on the outcomes of our project. So it's been really interesting to be able to give some feedback to students and also having them apply what they've been learning based on something that we put forward, such as a food bank at the UPEI Student Union. There was also the Alumni Association AGM. That was the first one of the year. There's in total 4 of these along the year. This was the first one. Usually would have happened during the summer, but because of COVID, it couldn't happen. So we had this one recently. So basically, as the UPEISU president, I report to the Alumni Association AGM every single time they host it. I don't have a voting power on it. I'm mostly there to be able to inform the members of the Alumni Association what's really happening at UPEI and at the UPEI Student Union, and what are the challenges and obstacles, or even how they can collaborate and help us in any way we can. So I was able to give my report based on how did 2020-2021 begin, the Fox and Crow, the UPEISU Home Office, supplies, the Bike Co-op, the UPEISU New Normal of events. Moving forward, who are the executives, to be able to introduce the executives to the association. Also the 2020-2021 strategic priorities of the UPEI Student Union, as well as I was able to providing a crucial need of support for students this year based on 2 particular fields, namely financial support and the mental health support. That would be the ways in which it would be able to collaborate with us. There was also the EDI steering committee meeting. So there's an EDI steering committee that I'm also part of that I report to. Right now, we're working on the priorities and output from the consultation that was done last year. And also the question was asked of what would a UPEI strategic plan in terms of EDI look like? And we're able to provide both inputs and concerns, as well as expanding on identified needs for UPEI as an institution. There was also the ad hoc COVID-19 committee meeting that I'm part of among different Atlantic student unions. So we were able to discuss campus updates, as well as providing insight and initiatives that have to be tackled as soon as possible or have to be priorities, namely the need for financial support for the upcoming semester, as well as mental health as an identified priority. The NAC meeting, National Advocacy Committee meeting for CASA. So we were able to discuss Advo Month responsibilities. Like right now, we are in Advo Month at the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations. That's why if you've checked our social media, you'll see a lot of things being posted, a lot of meetings with different senators or MPs across the country, because it's mostly what we're doing, advocating on different priorities to the government. So we were able to work on feedback and opinions on Close the Gap campaign pitch. It's another campaign as a committee we're working on to be able to bring forward and have it along the year. We're also looking at the road forward for a campaign, since it will be a virtual one, about how it would look like. So facilitating how to get students involved, how to reach key government stakeholders, and how other students can see others' involvement in campaign. Because usually that's something that gets a lot of drive. So if a student sees another student participating, they're able to participate too based on that. So we're trying to look at how it will be possible in a virtual platform. Truth and Reconciliation Student Calls to Action Award. So that's something that was presented in my mandate, and that's something I'm providing an update now. It's been a project I've been working on pretty much since I began my term. And I've had a couple of meetings based on that in the last couple of weeks. So meeting with Ann Bartlett as Interim Director of Student Affairs, discussing the Scholarship and Awards Education Committee and how we can get another committee involved as an advisory one to be able to, in terms of allocation of a scholarship. Meeting with the Manager of Donor Relations and Executive Director of Development and Alumni Engagement, mostly to be able to work on the gift agreement to make the scholarship/award happen. The gift agreement has been presented already as from this Friday to all stakeholders for feedback. And if all is in approval this week, I would be working on seeking approval from the UPEI Senate and the UPEI Board of Governors specific committees next week. And the award, if everything goes well, would then be ready for the winter cycle. So AKA ready before I leave, it will be set up before to go for our students for next semester. CASA mock meeting training. So that's something our VPACs and I were able to attend to be able to prepare for those Advo month meeting with the different members of parliament, ministers and senators. We usually had that meeting to be able to prepare on what the first things are asked. So I listed all 5 of them here: expanding access to trade reskilling, reducing barriers to post-secondary education for Indigenous people, making it easier for international students to gain skills in Canada, positioning students with dependent children for success, and funding student scholarships programs. We discussed the structure of a lobby meeting, the different roles, everyone in the meeting. So it will be, for example, me and 3 or 4 other delegates from different student unions. And then there will be the MP or the senator or the minister attending the meeting. So which would be our roles and how would we manage the meeting? We went over digital meeting etiquette and what to do after the meeting. So most of that social media stuff. Had a CASA bold liaison call. So it was mostly discussing how to get ready for Digital Advocacy Month and what to keep our eyes on. A UPEI hiring committee meeting. So I'm part of the hiring committee right now. Over the last couple of weeks, that has taken enormous amount of time. It's really nice to have student representation on hiring committees for people that are going to directly impact so many students at UPEI. So it was pretty good, but it's been a lot of work. We had around 60 applicants and the interviews were each on Zoom until now, but there's more to come. Each interview was about an hour and a half. That was really quite long. And we also had presentations, but that is ongoing and I hope that will be finished by the time I'm finished my term. CASA Advo month meeting prep. So we were able to meet before the Advo meeting would happen. We'd also have to meet with the different delegates to be able to practice and really organize what our roles would be and what ask each of us would be able to tackle. So we had to do that twice. CASA Advo month meeting with MP Terence Rogers. That was the first one that I was able to hold. It was with Sean McKenzie, the UND president, UNDSU's president, Aking Shabatnagar from CASA's home office. We discussed our Advo Ask, our CASA Advo Ask, and we were really receptive in terms of international students. And the MP was really shocked by how many jobs international students currently hold in Canada, which was quite interesting, but they did not really know how many jobs international students hold. And they also asked about letter of supports and follow up on topic discussed. And that's really exciting to see how much it's going to progress for that. We had the meeting with the Premier Dennis King. So as all of us executives were able to attend, Adam Ross, who is the Principal Secretary and Senior Policy Advisor, was also there. It was mostly introductions with the executive team about who we are, what have we done, how was the summer like, how has COVID-19 affected students, and what are the challenges and priorities right now. And also we were able to advocate on the UPEISU policy ask for a year, but I'll leave that to Malik to discuss more about that later, since she is the lead on that initiative. CASA EDIC, so the EDI committee that I'm also a member of in CASA, we met twice. We went over the project chart and I was assigned working on research on difficult EDI topics. We're able to provide updates as leads on specific topics of a project chart, as well as setting deadlines and coordinating with Home Office how we're going to achieve each of these goals. Another CASA Advo month meeting that we had was with Senator Jean-Guy Dagenais, who's a Quebec senator. So I had the meeting fully in French. That was quite interesting. It was like 2 other people, so Daphne Perron-Cordero, who's in Quebec, who's student union in Quebec, as well as Phil Lebel, who's from CASA Home Office. We're able to discuss all 5 of a CASA Ask. And the senator was receptive to all the asks, and again, especially for the international students one. And he was also asking about how to support post-secondary students amidst COVID-19. And for all of these asks, we're able to do follow-ups with the senator to be able to provide material enough to support the asks that we put forward. Had a meeting concerning the annual fund ambassador. So I will be, I'm working on a project with the Alumni Engagement Development Association to be able to be as part of an annual fund ambassador. So we'll be able to collaborate with them and targeting international alumni in terms of small donations for our fundraising initiatives. And that's really helpful for students specifically because they gave us money for different projects. For example, the cadres renovation was one of them. A lot of the benches that we have across campus right now were from donations from the alumni fund. So that's something we really are keeping on working on. Auditor presentation. So that was something as execs were able to attend. So we went over the report from the auditors, looking at how the organization final health is, confirming, maintaining the not-for-profit organization status. But Ayumikun, as our VP Finance, will be touching more on it, specifically our output of the audit and the financial statements that we were received. And the last bit also was the COVID-19 Student Support Scholarship Committee meeting. So that was the last thing I updated council based on the $100,000 coming finally to UPEI. So we're able to receive that funding. That's something that I've been working on the whole summer, and we were able to get that. It was specifically towards international students, and it was needs-based and how COVID-19 had impacted the students. The application period was until October 29th to be able to receive, but then the committee met throughout the week for allocation of funds. So this week, mostly like this week, I had a lot of meetings to be able to allocate the funds. So we went over all the applications from specific students. A lot of students ended up applying, so that took a lot of time to be able to allocate. And that's really when it was an eye-opener for members of the committee about how much international students, among students in general, have been struggling this summer or are continuing to struggle based on the difficulties that are still out there. Like a lot of them do not have job opportunities. A lot of them can barely earn enough to pay their bills and everything, or even in terms of access to food resources. And as such, that was something we're able to realize how COVID-19 still has severe financial impacts on students. And that's something that I would reiterate really what our responsibilities are as counselors to make sure, for example, that even in the future, that this is consistently in mind, that we have to focus on securing more funding, at least as much as we can for the winter semester, which is ongoing. And that would be my report.
Thank you very much for your report, Brian. Are there any questions for the president at this time? I see some people are sending you some thumbs up, but I don't see any raised hands, so we will move on. Thank you very much for your report. And next I'll open the floor to Malik.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
You are unmuted, and I'm about to give you screen sharing.
Okay,
There you go. You should be able to screen share.
perfect. Let me try that now. Can you folks see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, is it the report?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go over a high level overview of my report. I'm not gonna go into detail so as not to, bore you folks all. Don't need to go through the detail to show that I did a bunch of stuff. The report speaks for itself. So again, so I'm going to touch over some stuff, but I also transferred some stuff to the agenda to talk about it there instead. Again, not to bore you folks to death. So we put out a survey. I hope you folks have seen it. It encompasses both student mental health and academic experience this semester. Put it out with, did it in collaboration with our mental health and wellness officer. And yeah, I'll touch more on that one later. But we have 1,112 responses so far, which is the most responses any survey that the SU has put out has gotten. I also sat on Library Council, bunch of updates there. I also met with the head librarian Separately, one thing I want to touch on there is that the library is looking into the possibility of investing to something called bibliotherapy, which are basically books about mental health. And they consulted with me as well as the mental health wellness officer to see if that was a good idea for our students. And the result we got at the end is maybe not now. I feel like for mental health resources, or based on consultations with Callie, our mental health resources don't necessarily need to be readings, but other sort of resources that our students can use. And Aspiria is also offering something similar to this. So we were saying, you know, if the library can invest the resources in different aspects of mental health, that could be a better aspect for our students. Presented our lobby document to the VP Academic and Research of the university, Dr. Kathy Gottschalk. That meeting went really well. I will also be sending follow-ups. But with regards to that point, I had mentioned also trying to keep the buildings open for our students later than 5 p.m., which is something that our math and computational sciences rep brought up, but also our business rep. And I had contacted the deans as well. And to get to the point is Dr. Kathy Gottschalk asked which spaces specifically. So for example, I had reached out to our computer science rep and he said, you know, Cass Science Hall Lounge, that's the place. And then we would also need a dedicated space for the business students. That would be the dedicated space in the building that would be open past the time. And that's just to make it easier to say yes to opening the building, because then the facilities people would focus on cleaning that area after hours instead of the whole building, basically. So waiting on that update, and then also presented our policies, which I will talk on later because it's also a point in our agenda. Met with a lovely representative from the Graduate Student Workers Union. I apologize, I'll fix that in my report. And we basically wrote up a letter of support for them. They want to start negotiating with the university about unionizing and also incorporating more folks into their union, as well as getting more equitable treatment and pay in their work endeavors. Did not attend the last APCC meeting because we were in the meeting with Premier Dennis King, so had to let go of that one. We had a lot of student grievances come our way. It has been very busy. I'll touch on some of them and I'll leave others for later. Some of them mostly were about suspensions and probations. However, the students would reach out about suspensions and probations that happened in the summer, which is way late to try and appeal now because you only get about 15 business days to appeal those. So we did contact the registrar's office just to make sure that we're doing the most that we can for our students, and they did say that they are too late to appeal. And then I'll be touching on the other ones later. CASA, we had our Federal Policy Committee meeting 2 days ago, went well, approved certain policies. It went well. I won't go into the details. This is mostly the most important parts of my report is the advocacy meetings that we've been having. So November is advocacy month federally. So it's when we VP externals across the country do advocacy for the members of parliament and ministers and senators. So I've had 3 meetings so far. I've had a meeting with MP Sean Fraser from Nova Scotia, MP Wayne Easter from PEI, and Minister Carla Qualtrough, who is the Minister of Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion in Canada. They were all very good meetings. And then meetings that are going to happen throughout the month of November. We're meeting with Senator Rob Black, MP Sean Casey, who is also one of our own MPs, MP Don Dasco, and Minister Lawrence McCauley. And then I've also incorporated our provincial advocacy in November, just to have it all be advocacy month. So the lobby doc is finalized. We'll touch over that later. We had our meeting with Premier Dennis King, which was honestly, I think went wonderfully. It was amazing. we'll touch on that with the lobby doc later. And then I also set up different meetings with government, the opposition, and the third party. So these are meetings that are already planned. Ones without dates next to them are ones that we haven't picked a date for yet, but I've reached out to all of these folks. And then miscellaneous is, miscellaneous. Again, discussed opening building past current hours, reached out to security, health and safety, and the separate deans, also the VPAR. Had executive committee meetings, helped Jose with his murder mystery party and the Halloween fashion show, as well as sat through the presentation from our auditors. And that is it for me. I'm happy to take any questions from you folks if you have any.
Great, thank you very much for your report, Malik. Are there any questions for the VPACs at this time? Jose, did you have a question or are you just getting ready for your report?
I'm just getting ready for my report.
Okay. Any additional questions? Seeing none, again, thank you very much for your report, Malik, and we will move on the agenda. I did just want to note that, as Malik had said, executives are giving a higher level view of their reports tonight rather than going in detail on each item. Please feel free to ask any questions on anything they don't touch. They've chosen to go more as an overview just because we do have such an extensively long agenda for this evening. So I will open the floor to the VPSL.
Okay, hi everybody. As a nice follow-up to what Ashley just said, I have a timer here on my phone to be sure that I don't go over time when I explain my report. Also, your BPSL has a new haircut. Ooh, look at that. And we can get going. Is my screen allowed to be shared, Ashley?
I will update that right now, Jose. You should be able to share now.
Okay. So let's do this. Can everybody see it?
I would suggest that you zoom in a bit, Jose. You're currently at 75%.
What did you say?
I would suggest that you zoom in so folks can read it easier.
Yep. So basically, to follow up on what Malik and Ashley were saying, we're trying for our reports to kind of be quicker and high level. So everything that's in my report that is in color means that it's going to be elaborated later on during the agenda. And yeah, so just in case I skip over some things, it's because they're colored, because they represent different agenda items. So let's start. So with clubs and societies, I always do things with Lina Dabu, which is the clubs and societies coordinator. The Bangladeshi Student Association is thinking about coming back to us, which is great. They were inactive for a while. Then we had our first Clubs and Societies Committee meeting, and we had our first Clubs Cup event, which was a logo battle. However, Lina and I are discussing the possibility of extending the deadline for that or adding a couple more weeks, just because we think clubs need a little bit more time because they're rather busy with assignments right now. Then over there, you can see some distribution of membership cards, as well as some of the activity that the clubs have been doing. So you can tell that they're still doing a bunch of stuff even in a COVID semester, which makes me really proud. Then here is something that I think all of you will be able to digest more easily. So some negative feedback that the BPSLs have been getting in the past years is that they don't really elaborate a lot in terms of numbers, or they don't keep super track of those. So I'm trying to do better on that. So I just did this quick kind of boxes that explain things. So how many groups do we have right now? 30. In students involved, it would be around 1,500 based on the answers that clubs gave me when they apply for ratification, and based on the social media and following the having groups and stuff. So that's a good number, I would say, but I'm also aware that includes maybe students who have graduated in student groups or people who are not active, but that's roughly the number of people who are at least aware of clubs. Membership cards, around 1,200. Clubs that have bank accounts, Lynn and I contacted them, as I mentioned last 2 weeks ago, and 21 of the 26 groups that have been gotten back to us have bank accounts, and then 18 out of 26 have email accounts. We'll have to do an extra follow-up for the remaining people and also for the new groups that have been appeared since then. And then the Startup Fund, which was the new fund that appeared this year, has had 6 applications from different groups, and it would be around $1,400 that have been kind of like going around or being in consideration for going to clubs. But that's up to the budget committee, and they've been the ones who've been taking those decisions. Then I'll be reviewing kind of more in-depth thing about the Halloween Spectacular in a later agenda item, so I'll skip over that. Also, I'll be reviewing 5 Days of Cheer later. So Master Student Chef. So basically, I just had to do the final social media push. I had to announce the winners, and all the executives, or the 4 executives and the 4 main staff of the student union had to vote for the winners and stuff. And we took some time on our week to do that. We announced them. I think it went pretty well. There was some issues, but since it's a competition, there were bound to be people who were not super on board with the results. I also set up things with our general manager, so we would transfer the checks and money to the participants. And the UPEISU Art Battle is now live and online. There have been 2 official submissions, and I suspect around 5 to 6 projects in the works. Yeah, so that's how that's going. I'll elaborate on culture diversity campaign later. I've been assisting the mental health wellness officer, Callie Ross, in planning her events for the De-Stress campaign happening December 1st to December 4th. And then on to others, the only main highlights are, well, we had a meeting that kind of encompassed a lot of people who do events on campus. So that's the International Students Office, the Sexual Violence and Prevention Response Officer, 2 counselors from Student Affairs, and Residence Life. We basically had a meeting that's called like an anti-silo meeting. Basically, that's just kind of a meeting where you discuss how to prevent people from feeling isolated and making social connections and stuff like that. And we're trying to really dig deep to see what's the issue. We kind of realized that all of us who plan events on campus are working really hard to make events, and there are things going on. It's more like students are not feeling motivated to go, and they're not feeling the energy to go, or maybe they're overwhelmed with classes, or maybe they don't know people and they don't want to go by themselves. We discussed that for a lot of events now you have to make reservations, and maybe people now feel discouraged because they don't want to take, like, let's say you're one student who's interested in going, but you don't have anywhere to go with, and you don't want to just book a whole table for yourself. So we were just kind of reviewing what might be causing students to feel this way, even though there's a lot going on. And if you guys have feedback after I'm done with this report, feel free to tell me, because the results we kind of reached was kind of like, we need more social coordinators on campus who do not plan the events, but then motivate students to go to events. So kind of like NSO leaders throughout the year. So people who pump up people to go to things and take them. We've been discussing the possibility of that. I created the UPSU Volunteer Squad Facebook group. I think it's going pretty well, and a lot of you are in the group, and a lot of you have been helping. Some of you already did some volunteering with me, which was great. And then I work with staffs in order to get an AVC rep for council, and we sent some emails and we put it in their Facebook. However, it's really hard, and I don't think we got one, but we tried. And finally, this is important for all of you. During the week, I met with Melissa, who's our general manager, to review kind of like our policies and bylaws in terms of prizes and giveaways and swag and stuff that the student union does. And then during executive meeting this week, we all got together. The executive meeting kind of went into the policies, and we clarified some things. I think we're gonna do some minor changes. Basically, the results are that now everybody who works or is part of the SU can participate in SU events, and you're eligible to win. So if you participate in any of my events, now you can win some of the prizes. Same with Fox and Crow and stuff. Same with the cadre people, which should be pretty exciting for all of you. And I think that's fairer for all of you, because all of you are still students and should still be able to participate in these things. And then those are 2 projects that I've been.
Jose, sorry to interrupt you, just as a note, those policy changes will have to come to council for council's approval before they'll be able to be enacted. And I assume they'll be coming to the next council meeting.
Yep. Thank you for that, Ashley. Melissa and I are still kind of working on the wording and stuff, but that should be something that you guys will see pretty soon. And then those are 2 projects that I've been working on the side, and I'll elaborate them on some points later. Finally, the only other thing that I have to say is that the Master Student Chef Cookbook is done-ish, and it's been sent to be designed now that all submissions have been reviewed. Basically, the book will include the name and picture of all the recipes and people participated, a step-by-step on how to cook things. And it will also have a glossary of easy and budget recipes for students to cook. And that's it.
Thank you very much for your report, Jose. Are there any questions for the VPSL at this time? I see Tasneef, floor is yours.
Hey, Jose.
Hi, Tasneef.
How are you? I'm good. I wanted to talk to you about the Bangladeshi Student Association. And can you tell me who you're contacting with? Because last I heard, they were all part of Holland College and they dropped out of UPI. So could you tell me who you're in contact with, and can Holland College students be part of like BSA?
Give me a second, just because
Sure.
I will have to look through that through my emails. Or I'll just send you a follow-up, but
Okay.
I understand is that they wanted to be active from the beginning of the year. However,
Okay.
they had to redo their whole executive team, and that's
Yeah.
why it took so long for them to come back.
Mhm.
Assume that it is because their executives are now going to be different people. They haven't finished their election process, as far as I understand. And they told me they were going to contact me as soon as that was done.
Okay.
What I do know from previous experiences is that, for example, last year the Iranian Society had a lot of students who were part of Holland College.
Okay.
So definitely people who are not in UPI can still be part of clubs as long as.
Okay. Okay. So Holland College students can still be a part of UPI clubs and societies here?
Yeah, but they cannot hold any executive positions, and
Okay,
it
perfect.
must be outlined in each group's constitution.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
But yeah, I not being able to find it in my emails. I'll look for that and I'll let you know.
Okay, could you just let me know the executive team? That would be amazing. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Tasneef, for your question. Any additional questions for the VPSL? Seeing none, we will thank you for your report, Jose, and we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the VP Finances report. Yumakin, the floor is yours, and I will give you the ability to share screen. Yumakin, you're currently muted.
Okay. So hi everyone. This is just my cancer report, and I'm just going to quickly go over it. So yeah. So first of all, I had the campus trust board of trustee meeting. So during this meeting, we just went over our investments. So we kind of looked at ways at which the organization can increase investment, places we need to stop investing in, and places we need to start investing in pretty much. We also had the communications committee send out a survey to just see how the organization can do better. We also went over having to educate trustees more to ensure good governance, as well as preparing for our next annual general meeting. So also I had a Panther Instagram takeover to just, talk about the Panther Patrol, to allow students ask questions that they have. And we had a lot of students ask different questions, and people were really interested to know more about the Panther Patrol. So I had a staff check-in with the food and beverage manager. So we just had to check in with the staff that was kind of having challenges, and we kind of looked at where we could go forward. He kind of told us what we could do better and to help him better in his role. So supplies updates, we now try to update the supplies weekly. Also the sanitary packs went out, and it was taken really quickly. We also had the Campus Trust Finance Committee, but I was unable to attend it because of our meeting with the Premier. So presentations by the auditor, we'll be reviewing that later on during the meeting. So as previously during our council meeting, I said I was going to research more about how we could work around our emergency fund. So I'll be presenting that to you guys later on. So I also had check-in with the mental health and wellness officer to just see where she's at and things projects she has been working on. So Mental Health Monday, she had about 25 participants. She's also working alongside with CMHA for different workshops. Also preparation for Distress Week in December. Also others regarding, we had executive meeting with the Premier, helping Jose out with Halloween events. So I'm just going to present the recommendations I have for the emergency fund, and you guys should feel free to ask me any questions. So as students, for the most part, we all have financial hardship, but this fund would be reserved to students who are in need of financial assistance due to unforeseen and unfortunate circumstances. So we would mostly be allocating this fund to students who need financial assistance immediately. Students will be limited to one fund per semester. The funding application will be reviewed by the executive committee. So instead of the funding committee, it will be reviewed by the executive committee. The funding could range from 250 to 750, depending on the intensity of the issue. There'll be an application form. This would be more of a detailed application form where students can detail their issues and their needs. Issues could range from, but not limited to, students who find themselves in sudden financial need, whether that be an inability to pay rent or sudden income loss. Issues should not be covered by already existing funding avenues. For example, like if it's something we're already providing, like student funding or food bank, all of those things, it wouldn't be covered. And the form would be reviewed bi-weekly because of urgency. So instead of having to wait a month, we would try to review it bi-weekly to attend to students' needs. And that is all for me.
Great, thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions for the VP Finance at this time? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you very much for your report, Hugh McKinn. The next item on the agenda for this evening is the Senate report. Senate representatives, is there a report for this evening?
I don't have a report. We had no meeting this week or in the last 2 weeks, but we should have a report next week. So nothing to report tonight.
That is great. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Board of Governors report. I see our Board of Governors rep is not with us. Brian, was there a Board of Governors meeting? The next item on Sorry, folks, I'm having some type of a microphone issue. I see the next item on our agenda for this evening is the Board of Governors report. At this time, the Board of Governors rep is not here. Brian, is there a report on Board of Governors for this evening? Has the committee met?
No, Ashley, the Board of Governors has not met since the last council meeting.
Great, thank you very much for that update. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda for this evening, which will put us into the committee appointments. So the first committee, I'll share that screen for folks. So the first committee that we will be appointing this evening is the Academic and External Steering Committee, on which we have one faculty rep vacancy. At our last meeting, Chioma, Ala, Sam the business rep, Alexander, Riley, and Nellie all voiced their interest of being on this committee. Unfortunately, both Chioma and Alexander are not present this evening. That will mean they won't have the ability to motivate for why they should be on the committee. But we will open the floor for the rest of the folks who are interested. And I'll start with Nellie, if that's okay. So Nellie, if you just want to give a very brief description of why you would like to be on this committee. And then after everyone's given the chance to speak, we will vote.
Hey Ashley, can I be the second to speak, please?
Sure.
Thanks.
Maybe I'll move to a veteran counselor second. Sam, business rep. You've seen this process before. Would you be willing to motivate first?
I have actually never seen this process before, but I will go first. I was most interested in this because it's something that I haven't had much experience with, but I'm really excited to learn about, and I would hope to have the opportunity to work on this. Not sure if that's what you're looking for.
That's great, Sam. Just yeah. So generally, when we're motivating, we just let other counselors know why you want to be on this committee and why you should be selected. That was great. Was there any follow up, or do you feel good with your statement?
Yeah, that's everything, I think. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sam. Nellie, I'll open the floor to you second.
Hi, all right. So I would like to be a part of this committee because I've always been passionate about policies, like writing policies and everything that had to do with advocacy. Actually, I applied for the research and policy coordinator for the UPS non-union, I believe, during summer. Unfortunately, I did not get the position. I believe being a part of this committee will give me the opportunity to I'm trying to find the right word. My first language is French. It will give me the opportunity to show what I know, because as an economics student, I have had the opportunity to do some type of this work. So I just want to put to practice what I've studied at school. And I believe I'll be a good member, and I believe I'll be able to bring a lot of knowledge. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, Nellie. We'll now move to Riley.
Hi, everyone. So I would like to be part of this committee because I want to get a broader scope of the SUs. So I'd just like to join another committee, and I'm interested in academics. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Riley. Ala, would you like to speak to this?
Yep. So I applied. I want to be in this position because it's a very good position for advocacy, and I can tell, and everybody knows here, that everyone is struggling currently due to COVID and due to a lot of things happening, especially international students. So I'd love to work with the VPACs and start this is something interesting that I really want to do. And I feel like I'm fit for it, and I feel like I can advocate to make some changes in the university.
Great, thank you to everyone for motivating for those positions. I'll also remind you that Chioma and Alexander, who were not able to be here this evening, are also still eligible for these positions. I'm now going to launch the poll, and I'll have counselors go ahead and vote. If you are running for a position, you are eligible to vote as well. You're eligible to vote for yourself, in fact, if that's what you would like. All voting members of council are able to vote. So that poll is open now, and it will be held by secret ballot. So I will just announce the winner at the end. And that has concluded our voting on that. I would like to congratulate Nellie. You have been elected to the Academic External Steering Committee. We'll now move to the NIFT committee, where we have 3 vacancies. We have Alla, Star, Sam, our business rep, Adam, Riley, and Akini, who would like to be on this committee. So we'll go ahead and allow those folks to motivate. Alla, I will open the floor to you first.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm interested in joining the NIFD because I'd like to make new initiatives in the university. And I am an international student, and this is in my favor, but I believe it's also in the favor of every other international student. I also would love to bring new things to UPEI. Yeah, and that's about it. That's the reason I want to be part of the NIFD committee.
Great, thank you, Alla. Star, floor is yours.
Hello. I think that I would be good to be on this committee because, sorry, can I get like a reminder of like what this committee is? Because I forgot.
Sure, so the NIFT committee is the new Initiatives and Future Directions Committee. So this is the kind of Center of Innovation for the UPEISU. It's chaired by the president, so it is basically any new ideas that come to the SU come through this committee.
Okay, then I think I would be good for this committee because I would love to bring new ideas to the table and bring more into UPEI and be more involved in the council. That's all.
Great, thank you, Star. Folks, I do apologize. I should have given a descriptor of the committees in advance. I forget that not everyone knows the committees as well as I do. We will go forward with a description of the committees in advance next time. I'll open the floor to Sam.
Hello again, Council. I would like to be on the NIFT committee because I really love watching what the SU does new every year. They come up with some really cool new ideas for students to enjoy. I also have multiple years of experience as an exec on different clubs and helping with putting them in different paths and coming up with new ways to keep students engaged. So I feel like that will really help me with helping this committee go in some new directions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Adam, floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm as you can see, I have my name down for actually 3 committees, and I'm mostly just looking to get more involved with the student union. So that's why I have my name down for 3 different committees. So and my main goal is just to get more involved and learn.
Great, thank you very much, Adam, and thanks for the enthusiasm. We'll now move to Riley.
Hi, everyone. So I would like to be on this committee just to get more of a chance to present ideas and hear about what other faculties would like to introduce, and overall just to become more involved with SU. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We will now move to a vote. Okay, here we go. NIFT committee. I will note that Akene has asked me to remove his name from consideration, so please do not vote for Akene. His name will appear on the poll, and you are able to select 3 folks who you would like to see represent you on this committee. So please feel free to select 3. Okay, folks, voting has ended. The 3 folks who will be appointed to this committee are Sam, the business rep, Adam, our first year rep, and Alla, our computer science rep. Congratulations to those folks. That is great. We will now move to the budget committee where we have 4 vacancies. I would suggest, seeing as Sam has already been seated, to the NIFT committee, or is, I don't have another. Is the
wrong
Sam
Sam.
who, okay, it is the other Sam. I am so sorry. It's the 2 M's. Okay, we will once again open to folks to motivate for why they would like to be on the committee. I will give a brief description of budget committee in advance. Budget committee is the committee that reviews how the organization's money is spent. So every student dollar that comes into the student union gets deposited into our budget, and the budget committee steers how much money is devoted to which initiatives and helps draft the whole budget for the organization. I will now open the floor to Star to begin motivating.
Hello again. I would like to be a part of this committee so that I can be a part of like knowing where the money goes in the student union and just in the university in general. And I think it would be really interesting to be a part of that.
Thank you, Star. Sam, I'll open the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to join the budget committee because, my fellow colleagues and I have looked at the expenses and we have wondered about what the actual numbers break down to. And I feel like I'd play an invaluable and helpful role in helping decide where the funding goes to, as well as helping increase the transparency of the budget for the student body.
Great, thank you very much, Sam. Chioma is unfortunately not present, so she will not be able to motivate. However, she is eligible to be voted in. I'll next move to Sierra.
Hi guys. Yeah, I'd be interested in being on this committee because I just would be interested in seeing kind of where the money goes. And I just generally enjoy crunching numbers and that type of thing anyway. So yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Sierra. And also the last person who would like to be on this committee is Akshay. Unfortunately, he is also not here this evening, however, is still able to be voted for. I will now share the polling. Launch poll. Please go ahead and select 4 counselors as we have 4 vacancies. I believe there are still a few folks who have the ability to vote. There we go. I'll leave the poll open until we hit the full voting. And there it is. So we will be congratulating Star, Sam, Chioma, and Sierra. Welcome to the Budget Committee. The next committee we have is Funding Committee, on which we actually only have 3 vacancies and 3 folks who would like to be present on that committee. Is there anyone who is at this time interested in adding their name to this list? If not, the 3 folks who have Okay, seeing as there's no one else interested, congratulations to Adam, Sierra, and Akshay for your appointments to the Funding Committee. And the last committee that we have for this evening is the Governance Committee. At this time, as we see that Adam is already seated on 2 committees, I would probably suggest, Adam, would it be okay if you were taken out for consideration for this committee? It's generally the process. Yes, thank you.
Yep, that's all right.
It's generally the process that we would seat one person to each committee first. We have 4 vacancies on the Governance Committee. I believe in the interest of having all 5 of these folks have not been seated to another committee. Would council be in favor of seating all 5 to this committee? I will do a straw poll. So this is not an official motion of council. However, if it is council's will to seat all 5 to the Governance Committee is an important committee. There's kind of a lot of work to happen there. If you're in favor of seating all 5 to this committee, you can vote in favor, or if you're opposed.
Sorry, point of information is I thought Chioma was seated on the budget as well as the, or is already seated on budget.
Thank you very much, Sam. We will remove Chioma from the, that is a great compromise. Thank you very much. I did not note that. I believe in the interest of time, we will remove Chioma from this committee as she has already been seated. Once again, thank you to Sam for that. So Laura, Bray, Carey, and Akine will automatically be seated to this committee. So congratulations to everyone for their committee appointments. If there are any councillors who did not receive a committee this evening and you are interested in a committee, please let me know and we can make further accommodations. And I would also openly welcome any councillor to attend any committee. So the appointments this evening are actually just a formal process to tell us who is able to vote on a committee. However, any councillor is able to attend any committee meeting at any time. So in order for us to move forward with tonight's agenda, we do need a motion. So at this time, I am asking for a motion to approve the Zoom election results for committee appointments as presented.
Motion to approve the committee appointments as presented.
Thank you very much for your motion, Sam. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by other Sam. This is great. Sam, Education Rep, would you like to speak to that?
I think we have a great team set up for the committees.
Great, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to that? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor of approval of the appointment results, all opposed, and any abstentions? Great, that motion has carried. Congratulations to all of the councillors on their appointments to various committees. It's so exciting to see so many folks interested in being part of these committees. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda for this evening, which is the hiring board results for the grad senate and the senate rep positions. As these are hiring decisions, these have to occur in camera meaning in a private session of council. So at this time, I am asking for a motion for council to move in camera. I see Sierra. Sierra, can you verbally give me that motion? Just, I move that we move in camera.
I move to go on camera.
Great, thank you very much. Can I get a seconder for that motion to move in camera? Seconded by Brian. Sierra, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor of moving in camera? All opposed and any abstentions? Great, that motion has carried. We are now moving in camera. As we are moving in camera, I will be pausing the official recording and we will be resuming the recording once we have moved out of camera. And we are back. We have just had a motion to move out of camera. It was moved by Sam, our education rep. It was seconded by Malik, and that motion was carried. I am now willing to entertain a motion for approval of the graduate Senate representative hiring board results. Can I have a motion for that, please?
Yeah, I move the motion to approve the graduate hiring results.
Yes, thank you very much, Nellie. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Sam. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Seeing no one,
Sorry, you muted yourself. Nope.
Seeing no one, we'll move to a vote. Thank you very much. All in favor of approval of the hiring board results as presented? That motion has carried. We will now move to the next item, which is an approval of the hiring board results for the Senate position. I see the first year representative.
Thank you. I move that for the approval of the hiring board results for the Senate representative position.
Thank you very much for your motion. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by the residence rep. Adam, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Seeing no one, we will once again move to a vote. All in favor of approval of the hiring board results for the Senate position? All opposed and any abstentions? And that has carried. So welcome to our new graduate Senate rep and our new Senate rep who will be receiving notice from the UPEISU within the coming days. We'll now move to the next item on our agenda for this evening, which is the UPEISU lobby document for 2020-2021. And for that, I will turn the floor over to our VPACs.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I will share my screen. Yes, that is the next step. And okay, so every year, in my job, part of my job is advocacy, and to do advocacy, we have to have we have to have some priorities that we write the research on, but we also have to have research and recommendations as to what we want to see changed and what we want to see the government do and what we want to see the university do. And so every year, the VPACs, along with the policy and research coordinator, write up a document. And that document is basically the policy priorities, research summary, asks, advocacy, lobby document for the year. So all of these are names. It's usually called the lobby doc. And this is my lobby doc, or our lobby doc, for the student union this year. And I wanted to show it to you folks to, yeah, so you're all familiar with it. This is what we go into the meetings with. This is what we went into the meeting with the premier with. This is what we, I went into the meeting with Dr. Kathy Gotchel-Pass with, and this is what I'm going to be taking with me for future meetings this year. So it starts with, this is our cover. And then we have our mission, vision, values. We have our executive committee members here on the left this year, and we have our table of contents. And this year it has 5 policies. And the themes that these policies tackle are technology, Indigenous students, international students, and experiential education. So this one is a policy about the graduate mentorship program. It's a policy meant for international student retention. And again, I'm presenting this document to you. And if you want, I can present it to you as if I'm in a meeting right now, so you could see basically what happens in our government meetings. So I would usually give an overview of, who is the UPEISU. We're a not-for-profit, nonpartisan organization that represents around 4,700 post-secondary education students at UPEI. And we came to these policy recommendations through policy themes that are voted on earlier in this year. You folks know that, policy consultations with our students, and then we come to the policy recommendations that we have. So it's basically informed research that provides the recommendation. And the first one is about international student retention. So we were looking at what can we do for international students, and part of it was international students need retention or something to help them stay on the island post-graduation. So we put out a survey earlier in the summer, and it had almost more than 1,000 responses about, where are students at, but also why do students not stay on the island, or why would they stay on the island? And from this information, we found out that 76.7% of international students said they would stay on PEI post-graduation if they had found jobs, while 33% of domestic out-of-province students, so those are Canadian students not from PEI, that they said they would stay on PEI post-graduation. So there's a great appeal of staying on PEI to international students. Now, what can we help them to stay? So the Graduate Mentorship Program is a program that was introduced by Skills PEI, and it basically offers a wage subsidy for recent graduates of up to 3 years. So if you graduate within 3 years from your graduation, when you're going into a job interview, you can tell the employer that I'm also eligible for a wage subsidy program from the government. So the government would pay up to 50% of your wage for a year. So it would be cheaper to hire you basically than another candidate. And this program was introduced in 2012 by the government. And then in 2015, based on SU advocacy, it was open for international students as well. But then when we checked the website later, earlier this year, actually, it was again only for Canadian citizens and permanent residents. So we realized that eligibility was cut off. So our recommendation is to open this program up again for international students to help them get retain jobs on the island and stay on PEI. So I'm gonna just try and skim over these as much as I can, hoping to get 2 minutes each. So that's the first one. The second one is access to technology. I already presented this one in council. It's about trying to get funding from the government to expand our laptop lending program at the library. And I also have a graph in here about how many devices we have right now, how many students are serving, and how much it would impact if we increase those by 10 more devices. The third one is our experiential education policy. And this one looks at, what are co-op opportunities outside of the already existing co-op opportunities? So it's looking at how can we create co-op in collaboration with the experiential education office here on campus for disciplines and faculties that are underrepresented in co-op, mostly the arts and humanities. and how the government can do that. So in New Brunswick, the government invested $18.4 million over 10 years, almost 1.84 million a year for co-op or experiential ed, funding experiential ed in New Brunswick. And what they do is they do wage subsidies for co-op. So your co-op would be half funded by the government. So we're hoping to have that liaison between the experiential ed office and private industry and public industry to have more jobs that are relevant to the arts, but also have these jobs subsidized by the government. So that's where we're asking for $200,000 divided into 130,000 wage subsidy that would create about 35 or so positions that are 14 weeks long, subsidized at 50% of $14 per hour, so $7 per hour. And we're also looking at the creation of a $70,000 grant for any student that is accessing co-op opportunities that are already existing. So existing co-op opportunities, if you need help with transportation, covering of equipment costs, or any other costs, you can apply for this grant of up to $1,000 per student to make your co-op more accessible. And this is basically the breakdown of how much the money would cost, how many students it would help, and how we can divide it over the semesters. We also presented this, all of this document was presented both to the Premier and the VP Academic and Research, and will be presented to all the meetings we go forward to. And then the second one is the third one now, one I presented at our last council meeting, which is our Indigenous supporting the Indigenous community policy. So I won't go over it again, but it is again, just in summary, those 4 asks. And then the last one is about making health cards more accessible for international students. So prior to March 2019, international students could apply for a health card and have it be valid to the end of their study permit. But after that, Health PEI changed their policies so that international students have to reapply for their health card on a yearly basis. And they also have to get an enrollment verification from the university sent to Health PEI, separate from the health card application that they send themselves to Health PEI. So there's a lot of moving parts to getting a health card if you're an international student. And what these moving parts lead to is delays in getting your health card, but also having to renew your health card almost every 8 months, as well as just making the system very inaccessible for international students. So we looked at research at what are other provinces doing, but also how can we make this better for international students? We've had several meetings with Health PEI. By several, I mean 2 phone calls because it was COVID and they wouldn't meet in person. But I am also meeting with the Minister of Health later this month to discuss it further. And basically they said we need access to student enrollment verifications. So we suggested a change to the health card application to include something with giving consent to Health PEI to accessing your enrollment verifications, but the university said that we can't share such information because it would be not good legal practice. So we are meeting with the Department of Health. We have also met with the Premier about it, and we're looking at how we can do legal information sharing around enrollment verifications to Health PEI, and we're also involving the university, of course, the registrar's office with these conversations. So everyone's in the loop. We're hoping to have everyone at the table to get a good outcome for our students. And that's it. That's our lobby doc this year. Happy to entertain any questions, but also would like to raise a motion after the question. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop talking and give you guys the floor if you have any questions.
Great, thank you very much, Malik. Are there any questions for the VPACs on this year's lobby doc? For folks who might not have seen a lobby doc before, the lobby doc is an integral part of advocacy for the PISU and will go everywhere with her VPACs to all of her meetings. So it's great that she has it ready so soon. Seeing no questions, I will open the floor to Malik for your motion.
I would like to raise 2 motions. Thank you. Thank you, folks, for all the support. Nice. The first motion would be to ratify all the policies in this year's lobby doc into our external policy book. Should I raise them together or should I do them separately, Ashley?
They have to be raised separately. Can you restate that for me, please?
I would like to raise a motion to ratify all policies in the 2020-2021 lobby document into the UPEISU external policy book.
Thank you very much for your motion, Malik, to ratify all policies in the 2020-2021 lobby doc into the external policy. Great. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see the VPSO. Malik, would you like to speak to that?
I'm very proud of our lobby doc. I am very biased, but I think it's one of the prettiest that we've had.
Thank you very much for that. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor of ratifying all policies in the 2020-2021 lobby doc into the UPEISU external policy guide? All in favor, all opposed, and any who wish to abstain? Great, so that motion has carried. Malik, you wish to raise a second motion?
Yes, I guess I would like to raise a motion in support of the 2020-21 lobby doc.
Great, so
or is that?
Raise a motion to have the UPEISU Council endorse
Yes.
the policy. Great. Okay, so I have a motion to have the UPEISU Council endorse the 2020-2021 lobby doc. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see Riley. Malik, would you like to speak to that motion?
Just want to make sure that, all you folks support the document that we're going into meetings with.
Great, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to that motion? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor, all opposed, and those who wish to abstain. And that motion has carried. Congratulations to our VPACs on her now ratified lobby document.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm also the next presenter on the agenda, so should I just keep going?
That would be great.
Okay, so I'll just keep going. So the next point on the agenda is student labs, and that's something I brought forward to the council because I just wanted to keep you folks in the loop, but make sure that I'm also in the loop with what's going on with everyone's constituents. I had one student reach out to me about their chemistry lab that they are, so they're paying for their $75 lab fee, but they were using another online platform that was given to them by their professor to do their labs online, or most of the work for their labs online. And then they had to also pay a $50 lab fee for that one. And that was also brought forward to me after the student brought it forward to me. It was brought forward to me by another rep on council. So I reached out to the registrar, to the dean of science, and to the department chair of the chemistry department. as well as the instructor of the course to make sure, I'm in the loop on what's going on. I informed folks that, if this was a anticipated fee, that it should have been added to my UPEI fees, but if it was not necessarily an anticipated fee and it was just how the labs are going this semester, then it should be covered by their already paid lab fee. And I wanted to keep you folks in the loop on what's going on there, but also to just do that. So they did reply to me, and I'm also meeting with them, the instructor of the course and the department chair later this month. And I'll just bring up some of the info here, just a sec. So eventually, after talking to folks from the department, what it turns out to be is that this platform is a one-time fee. So there are still some in-person components for the lab, which are covered by the $75 lab fee. And the platform is so there used to be a $200 textbook for the course, and there used to be a $200 textbook for the course. And then the instructor of the course wanted to make sure that they're looking into more affordable options for students, but also because a lot of everything's moving online, etc. They also wanted to have some sort of online interactive platform to do the labs on. So what happened is they chose another textbook for the course, which only costs $50. And this lab or interactive component with the course that costs another $50, saving the students eventually $100, and having this platform as a kind of add-on to the book, kind of like if you buy an ebook and it has an access code to another platform that you use in conjunction with your book to complete your course. And that was the approach to those labs. So eventually the approach was student-centric, and it still saved the students money. It's just that now for students entering the course who didn't have to buy that textbook prior, it seems like extra cost. That is what I got back in answers. I'm still going into the meeting with them to learn more and, see, is there anything else we can help with? But that did sound like a reasonable answer to me. And I just wanted to make sure that, is there anything you folks have heard about from your constituents? What do you think? Something I should know before I go into the meeting, etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Livy Pax. Is there anyone who wishes to address this topic?
Yeah, I would just like to know, what chemistry course is this?
1110. Let me double check, but it is 1110.
Yeah, so like the first year chemistry, right?
Yeah, 1110.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I'm a chemistry major, so I know a little bit about this, but normally I never bought the textbook in first year. I didn't think it was a necessity to buy. They never mentioned it was mandatory. But yeah, I kind of had that feeling too with all these labs. We have a 75 lab fee with every course, and most of them are online or in person, even in third year, some of them. And I don't really believe it's the lab fee should also still be there, because we are on, one of my courses is completely online, and all we're doing is they give us data and we write a report. And then some of them we get one in person or two in person. It's just, I don't know, if you could say something about that too, it'd be nice.
Can I respond to that, Ashley?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I can definitely bring it up that, because technically in winter 2021 semester, even though it is still hybrid, it was mentioned several times in Senate that things can be more in person. So there is the option for more in-person things. I'm trying to be realistic. I'm not going to give you folks hope. Removing the $75 lab fee is probably not going to happen, especially that there are some in-person components to justify it. But maybe if we can give the students more worth in what they're paying for by having more in-person labs, that's one avenue we can look at.
Yeah, for sure. Like, especially science students, like I know I'm in 4 labs, so that's $300 of fees, and I got to go to the lab 4 times in person this semester for all 4 courses. So it just seems like a big fee for what they're saving money on chemicals and all of these other things, and just to write reports, and they're not even using like an online software that they're paying for.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you to our to Jennifer. I see Riley.
Hi. So I am in a biology class right now, and I'm paying $40 to use a software online, and then $70 to do for the lab fee. And
Sorry, Riley, I think you cut out.
hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Turned off my video.
A biology class where I'm paying to use a program online and paying the lab fee when we aren't going to the lab at all. So that's another course there that's doing the same thing.
Can you folks send me emails with that information, please?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, like specifying what the course is, if you've had any in-person components to the lab, what the name of the online platform is, and how much it costs. I can also write those in the chat.
Great. Are there any additional questions or comments for the VPACs? Seeing none, we'll move to the next agenda item for this evening. I just wanted to give a thanks to Sam, our education rep, who's been a great help this evening, especially when I am trying to balance the role of chair and deputy chair all on my own. So thanks, Sam. And we'll now move to the next agenda item, which I believe is also Malik.
Yes, it is. Sorry, I was writing in the chat. So the next agenda item is our survey. Yeah, it's going to be a short and sweet one. Our survey is out. It's about student mental health this semester, but also student academics this semester. So all the feedback you can give, or any of your constituents can give, can be very helpful, especially that this survey is not just going to be data that we publish, is going to Senate. So we're going to present these results in Senate, and Senate is where all the deans are, all the chairs are, all the administration is. So it's going to reach a lot of people. People who can make change, people who are at the decision-making table, people who should take the feedback and incorporate it into their faculties. So please, please, please advertise the survey, fill the survey out yourselves, get your friends and your constituents and any other students that you know to fill out the survey. You can be entered to win $100. It closes tomorrow at 4. I want to thank you all so much if you have already done that, because we have had the most responses that we've ever had in an SU survey ever, which is fantastic. It's above 1,100, which is almost 25% of the student body, but the more we can get, the better. So again, please share it, push it, get people to fill it out, because it is important and it can create change. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the survey or any feedback for the VPACs on this topic? Seeing no one, we will move to the next item on the agenda for this evening, which is the UPEISU Gaming Co-op and Video Game Rental Initiative. And I believe I will be opening the floor to our VPSL.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. So everybody, we're almost halfway there. We've been here for 2 hours, but check it out. I have some things that I'm gonna share with all of you, and I hope all of you are kind of excited for them. Before I start sharing about 2 new initiatives that I've been working on, I would like to say that this past week, after our last council meeting that happened 2 weeks ago, having that council meeting really helped me reevaluate my direction for the semester. And it made me realize that beyond events and everything that I already have to do, it's good that I reallocate my budget to other resources and initiatives that could potentially help future BPSLs, future years when students are more active and there's more things happening around campus. So hopefully some of you who were having some doubts about the BPSL budget 2 weeks ago will kind of reconsider that. I'm gonna try to branch out and have some extra things. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. So everything is included in my, just a second, I'm trying to press the thing, but like the bar keeps like, so, okay, we're here. Okay, share screen. Perfect. So basically, the first initiative that I've been working on is called the UPEISU Gaming Co-op. I'm sure some of you or most of you are already aware of our bike co-op. Basically, the student union provides bikes for students. They get to rent them for a week. They just have to do some paperwork in case and there's any damages to the bikes or stuff like that. But it's being a service that Emma Drake, the president from last year, established, and it had a lot of uptake, and it was a pretty good initiative. So it inspired me to do something called the UPEISU Gaming Co-op. So basically how it works is, I don't know how many of you actually like video games or you're invested in video games, but basically companies like Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft have been considering releasing consoles that are mini versions of their original consoles. These mini versions are basically for the more kind of casual audience of gamers. So they all work in a plug and play function. So basically the consoles come with an HDMI cable, and as long as you have a TV that you can hook to that HDMI cable, you can play the games, and everything is set super easy, it's super user friendly. You don't need to know anything about games, and it already comes with all the video games equipped. So and it already comes with all the controllers. So you really have to do nothing except come and rent it here and then plug it to a TV. So hopefully that'll be simple enough for students, and it'll also be simple enough that the student union doesn't have to go out of their way to find all these things that gaming usually involves. So basically, the way I'm looking at it right now, it will cost between $800 and $1,700, depending on how many duplicates of each console we get. I'm considering just starting off with one of each console, and then we'll review, update, and reconsider to get duplicates. Basically, the main difference between this one and the bike co-op would be that it would be a 2-week rental service, just because video games like JRPGs or RPGs, if you know the terminology, are video games where you usually spend more like around 30 to 50 hours, depending on the game. So there will be some people who will need the console for a longer period of time, and similar to the bike co-op, they can pretty much rent it out again as soon as they're done. So there are currently 8 mini consoles out in the market. I just picked out the 4 most popular, and the 4s are more kind of towards the casual audience. So that will be the Sony PlayStation Classic, the NES Mini, the Sega Genesis Mini, and the Super NES Classic. I don't know how many of you know things about video games, but basically all of these were kind of consoles that were extremely popular in the 90s and stuff, or late 80s. And all of those different consoles come equipped with their own variety of games and all the equipment they need. And yeah, I think it will be a cool initiative for students who like gaming, which is, again, something that UPEISU has never tried to do anything for. And additionally, in the winter, there's not that much to do in Charlottetown or PI. So I feel like for students who do not have the budget to buy a video game console, or they don't have the budget to have all those fancy new gaming things, this would be an easy, quick fix that would get students to have something to entertain themselves with. Ashley, I think somebody's trying to get into that thing.
Yes, they have been added.
Okay, so basically that is kind of like the first point. Right now, I'll open the floor to any feedback or comments and just see how you'll feel about it.
So Jose, are you seeking a motion on this?
No, right now I'm just sharing.
Okay, great. So floor is open for feedback on this initiative.
Yay!
I see the residence rep. Star, floor is yours.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I think this is a really cool idea as someone who likes video games, and I think it would be cool to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for the feedback. Any additional feedback for the VPSL on this initiative? I see Sam, floor is yours.
I think it's a great idea. It's certainly unique, and I think it would be if it's well mentioned to students and students are well versed that this is an option for them. I think it could really take off. Have you heard any feedback from students about such an idea?
So I haven't really made it public yet because I don't want to kind of give a lot of expectations to students before it's like a established idea. I wanted to bring it to council first and do the research. As far as I can tell you, there are not, or the research I did, I couldn't find other student unions who really do rentals with video game consoles. So I thought it would be a cool idea for UPEISU to stand out. And I think it is a service that will have enough uptake. Like I know there is a gaming community here because again, Charlton is not super active in the winter. But I've told some friends and stuff, and everybody seems to be pretty on board. But also, I know that a lot of my friends here do like video games. So,
yep, fair enough.
Great, thank you very much. And now I have Sam McLean.
Hi, I think it's a really cool idea. I like how unique it is. Speaking as someone who doesn't game or doesn't know anything about gaming, I know you brought it up to a couple of your friends that game, but maybe just before going forward with it, kind of outreaching to more of a bigger of the student body and seeing how much retention and how like many people that would be interested in it would be. And I know you said you wanted it for winter because there's not much to do. Maybe just kind of asking people what other winter ideas maybe, but I do like the idea. I think it's very creative and unique.
Yeah.
Great, and I see Sam Midkiff, and then I also have Malik after him on the speakers list.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo a little bit of what Sam McLean was mentioning. Yeah, I think it would be invaluable to consult and get the opinion of the wider student body just before we fully commit to the finance aspect for this, and just to see whether or not students would actually be interested in this. I think some would, but whether or not it would actually be as impactful as the bike co-op would be a worthy of investigation.
Great, I have Malik.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, maybe you folks could also link with, your constituents and let us know what they think as well, because you also are our link to the wider student body as well.
Great, thank you for that feedback, Malik. I have Sam McLean.
Speaking of the bike co-op, it just kind of came up an idea for like the bike co-op is kind of like an active thing that students can do. And I like this idea, but if somehow it comes back that the student body isn't interested in it, maybe having something like snowshoe rentals or like winter things. I don't know, just an idea I thought I'd throw out.
Great, Jose, did you want to respond to that?
No, I'm glad, super glad that people are giving a lot of feedback, and I could definitely do something along the lines of a survey. However, I do know that we've been putting surveys kind of consistently for the past, well, since school started, because COVID, we've been trying to get a lot of feedback. So I don't want to overwhelm students with surveys, but it is true that I could put kind of like a social media takeover to see what's the feedback and stuff. And then again, if you guys can reach out to your constituents and let me know what they think, that would be great. However, as somebody who is actually more of I'm fully invested in video games, so more towards, I'm not really the casual audience, so it wouldn't be super what this is for. I feel like it would be a good initiative, but yeah, super happy that everybody's kind of pitching in because this is great.
Great. Were there any additional? Oh, I see Sierra.
Yeah, I really think it's a really cool idea. For someone who maybe doesn't like video games so much, we could incorporate like board games in a similar idea. Just an idea, I guess.
Can I respond to that, Ashley?
Yes, of course.
I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, Sierra, because that was part of my initial idea. I wanted to call it an entertainment rental. I did research on board games, and I work in a board game cafe, so my knowledge of this is pretty there. I'm trying to find my notes. Just a second. They're right here on my phone. Okay, yeah. So basically, I kind of compiled a list of the 30 most popular board games that I've seen from that cafe, but also on the internet. And I think that the overall price for having 30 different types of board games, with some of them having duplicates, the most popular ones like Catan, Clue, Uno, Sorry, etc., would be around, I think it was, again, 1,000 to 1,200. The only problem is that I did brought this idea to the executive and staff before, and they told me that the problem with board games is the fact that we don't know if students will be like losing pieces here and there, and like how complicated it will be for students to return the thing in its entirety, because the gaming consoles you cannot really wreck. It's either you break it or you return it well. Same with the bikes, but with this one you can miss pieces. If people have any ideas pertaining to that, I was on board with the board game rental, but if it seems like council thinks it's a good idea, I'll bring it up again to the executive squad again.
Awesome, thanks.
So do I move on?
Yeah, seeing as there's no additional, the only other thing, and I would just give you a caution on the board game, Jose, it would be disinfecting them in between use due to COVID-19 precautions.
Yeah.
And I will now allow you to move on to the next agenda item or further in this report.
Okay, so we keep moving, people, but you're doing great. I love it. Okay, so second thing that I've been working on is I want to put together a resource grab and go, or a 24/7 resource kiosk at Miski's. So if you're a student who's been here for a while, you'll know that Mickey's used to be like a coffee place next to Tim Hortons. Right now it's our food bank. However, the front of Mickey's looks like this, and there's not much going on there. There's just like, you cannot even tell what it is. So I was talking with the general manager and our VP finance and stuff and other people during this week, just because I want to kind of use that space specifically to do the resource grab and go. So the way that it works, it'll cost around $300 just for an overall big poster that will be like durable and shiny and great and design. I'll go here in this red area. And then there'll be brochure holders in the side, so like the left and right side. And then there'll be all the resources laid down on the table as shown in the pictures. So the cost will be around $300 for the brochure holders plus the super awesome poster, and then plus the cost of printables throughout the year, and that depends on how popular the station will be. I put resources earlier in the week just to see like if they would be taken, and actually some of them were being taken. So I was like, oh wow, because I didn't expect that particularly in this COVID year, but apparently people take things. So the resources right now that are included there are basically everything that we put together this year. So that how to join clubs and societies, how to create one, mental health resources in PA, UPI, UPEISU, that should be services. UPEISU services, the event calendar, Fox and Crow 101, which teaches you a briefing about events, the student life guide, and the club societies handbook. I already talked to our SV Pro, students office and student affairs, so that they'll also include their resources and they'll go on the brochure handles. But yeah, that's another little project that I'm working on the side. Plus, additionally, to not confuse students, on the upper part of where the Mickey's sign used to be, we'll put the UPEISU supplies food bank here and arrow pointing. So yeah, that's another little project that I'm working on the side. That one is not as exciting, but still pretty nice. So now I'll open the floor to feedback, but I don't really expect a lot of feedback on this one.
Any feedback for the VPSL on this topic? Seeing no one, Jose, I will suggest that you move on to the next item, which is cultural diversity and 5 days of cheer overview.
Awesome. So yeah, just to give you a heads up, those are the type of little projects or side projects I'll be working on with my budget aside from my regular things. So you can expect more things like this from me. Ooh, so that's so exciting. So let's see. Okay, so I'll go really quickly over this. It's just kind of letting you know what's happening on those weeks. And if you want to collaborate or help or have any ideas, send me an email, send me a message, whatever. So 5 days of cheer is a holiday / Christmas theme campaign. And basically it's similar to the Halloween campaign of events. It's just to have fun. So we're gonna start with a card and ornament making thing, which is going to be happening around the wishing tree. So the wishing tree is a tradition that started in the UPEISU, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago. The wishing tree basically is kind of a tree that has like a small box where you can write wishes. And if they're like material wishes, so if you want like a new skateboard or a really cute agenda that you saw somewhere, you can put it where you buy it, what was the price, and etc. And the student union gets it for you as long as it's under a certain threshold of money. So that's something that happens during 5 days of cheer, and students can put little notes throughout the whole week. Then the next day we have CCC, which is Cookies, Caroling, and Comedy with Wes Baker. Then our murder mystery party was really popular and it had really good feedback. So we're having another one. This is called Ho 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 Homicide and it's Christmas theme. Then we have a Do You Want to Build a Snowman competition, but we're gonna call it Do You Want to Build a Snow Husband? Ooh. And then because it's gonna be like fun and stuff. And then we're gonna have another virtual trivia just because that has become tradition with my events this year. We're gonna have a competition of making gingerbread houses and little people. And then we're gonna have a Christmas movie marathon. And we're gonna close off with a pretty big event. It's gonna be a very UPEISU Christmas dinner. So basically, I already discussed it with the Fox and Crow, and I'm already planning with our general manager and bar manager. And the UPS student union is gonna pay for a full Christmas dinner for about 100 students, and we're gonna use both Macmillan and the Fox and Crow. And by a full Christmas dinner, I mean your turkey, your mashed potatoes, your cranberry sauce, your selection of coconut pie or apple pie, and juices or pop included, not alcohol or ciders. If so, you have to pay and have like ID. But yeah, those are the 5 days of cheer events. Any feedback for now? I'll open the floor.
I see Malik. Floor is yours.
I was just gonna say I really like the idea of the dinner. I like the idea of the dinner. And the murder mystery party. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Malik. I see Sam McLean.
I really love the 5 days of cheer thing you have organized. I feel like it'll help a lot of the students that might not be able to travel home and celebrate the holidays with their families and things like that, especially the Christmas dinner. I think that'll help a lot of students and people will really enjoy it.
Great, thank you. Any additional feedback for the VPSL on these initiatives? Seeing none, we will move on.
Awesome, perfect, lovely. Yeah, I'm super excited for the Christmas dinner too. And Sam, I did it for that purpose too. Me and the bar manager discussed that it would be sad that a lot of students won't be able to travel back home for Christmas dinners. So it's nice to offer this alternative because usually the one that the Chaplaincy Center holds gets filled up pretty quickly, and the one in residence is usually only for resident students. So hopefully a lot of students will assist this one because it's a free full dinner. Okay, moving on. Before that, we have cultural diversity campaign. So this is more educational, but hopefully I try to make it fun. So it's happening from November 16th until the 20th. And right now our event lineup is International One-on-One, which is basically just gonna be a discussion panel, including students who have graduated or students who are currently UPI who are international and they have succeeded. So by succeeding, I mean like they've got like really good grades and they get involved a lot. And they're just gonna give tips and bits on how they did it and what the recommendations they can give to new international students. Then we're gonna have a multicultural film festival. Then we have rants and raves, confessions of international students. That should be pretty fun. It's gonna be at the Fox and Crow. I'm gonna be providing pizza. And then there's going to be a forum where students can put anonymous confessions, or they can go up to the stage and say just whatever's on their mind. That should be pretty interesting to watch. Again, another trivia because it's tradition now. We'll have an international discussion panel, which discusses intersectionality, homesickness, and stereotypes. Our discussion panel during the Pride campaign was pretty successful, which is why I think that this one should be good. And then we have world music and folk tales by folks, Fox and Crow. There'll be music and there'll be folk tales. And then around the Global Village gathering schedule, just because the ISO needs more time to prepare that. So we're gonna have it in the winter as usual. However, all the other events should be good to go. And just to clarify, most of these events, at least for the cultural diversity one, most of them are online, simply because of the fact that most of our international student bodies all over the world right now. And I'll open the floor.
Great. Any questions for Jose on this?
Okay, so I know you love my voice, but we're gonna move on to my last point. So this one is interesting because it's like a full-on report on how Halloween went, and I'll just go quickly over it because I know that we're approaching 9. But basically, so there were between 85 and 100 bags of Halloween treats prepared for students. All of them were giving out, so I think that went pretty well. For the magic show, we had between 15 and 22 attendees, and it was a hybrid setup. I would say it was actually no, I'll say that later. The murder mystery party had 36 people sign up, but only around 24 to 26 of the people showed up. It was in person only, but it was highly enjoyed, and it actually ran for an extra hour because students were really getting into it. The online trivia, not successful, but the one in person at the Fox and Crow that was Halloween theme was also a slow one. So I guess students didn't like the topic that much. Then we had the pumpkin carving competition between 21 and 24 attendees. It seemed to be pretty successful. If you saw our Instagram and stuff, it seemed like students really got into it. They had a lot of fun. Then the horror movie marathon had between 24 and 28. It was in person only. However, there are some technical difficulties in the Fox and Crow with the laptops. So me and the bar manager are looking to buy a new laptop. And then the Halloween fashion show had between 13 and 16 attendees. The setup was great. However, there were not enough attendees for the event to reach its potential, which is why I think it was a flop-ish. And then we have our halftime show, which made people kind of uncomfortable, but let's move on to the prices because that's what most people care about. And that's where BPSL thinks. So it was, all in all, it was 7 events and it costed around $5,900. On average, Halloween Pop costs between $7,000 and $9,000, and that's based on the last 9 years. Over there's like a breakdown of each event and where the money went and how it was kind of like allotted. So if you're one of our finance budget people who are really interested in money, you can check over that. It's purple because it makes it cuter. Yeah, that's the price breakdown of everything. And then what are my overall review and recommendations? So considering that it is a COVID-19 semester, I would consider the initiative a success. Usually for Halloween, we just do Halloween Pop, which on point 4, I clarify, Halloween Pop is great. I love it. I've always gone. I always have a great time. However, I do think that BPSL should also focus on making initiatives for students who are not super party crazy, and they also want more like toned down events and like just for more introverted people and stuff. I think that for future years, if the Halloween Spectacular were to come back, it should be more like a build up to Halloween Pop. Then it had similar take up to our Pride events or uptake, which I think it's valid considering it's a COVID year. The in-person events with hybrid components were the most successful. So it's better to not go fully online or fully in person. It's better to find ways that it can reach as much students as possible. So which were the biggest flops in my opinion? So it was the 2 most expensive things, which was hiring the magician, which came with the half part-time show. My conclusion based on this that I did, and also based on what I've seen from previous years, is that even though the BPSL portfolio in universities around Canada kind of focuses on hiring really expensive acts for these big events, it's not really what I think my budget should go into. I think unless it's for like a musical event, like a pub or a 19 plus, I think that when we bring comedians or magicians or motivational speakers or people like that, it's usually not super successful. So I feel like it's better if the BPSL focuses moving forward on kind of smaller scaled events that they can put that money into. For example, Murder Mystery Party and the Pumpkins, which were way more successful and they costed way less, and I could put them together myself without any outside artists. And the one that I will kind of defend is the Halloween fashion show. While it was arguably expensive, I'm pretty sure in a non-COVID-19 year, the event could really be successful and the idea should be tried out again during future years. And then just a mental note for myself, which I hope some of you will agree with, is that moving forward, at least in this COVID-19 year, I will not be focusing on hiring super expensive artists for my events. I'll focus more on things that I can put together and those side projects that I work on, because I know they are more beneficial for students and they are things that students moving forward can appreciate, instead of a really expensive show where only like a couple people showed up, if that makes sense. So now I'll open the floor to feedback or comments.
Great, floor is open. Any comments or feedback for the VPSL?
Okay.
Seeing no one, thank you very much for all of the information, Jose.
Okay, thank you everybody to listen to me. Love you. We'll continue with this. Let's go.
We'll now move to the next agenda item for this evening, which is agenda item number 15, 2,000 plus expenditures. And for that, I will open the floor to our VP Finance, Ayumakin.
Once again, Ayumakin, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm just trying to share my screen. Sorry about that. Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to be sharing with you guys the 2,000 plus expenditure. So these are the things that we spent on that are above $2,000. And first of all, September 30th, we paid our invoice fees to CASA. So CASA is the board Brian and Malak sit on. So we normally pay the invoice fees to them. Also, every month we pay our health and dental premiums to the campus trust. So that was $176,737.28. Also on September 30th, we usually pay to the UPEI for building costs, phone costs, internet costs, all of those utilities we use to maintain the offices. So we paid $18,084.31 to UPEI. Also for our monthly income taxes to CRA, we paid about $8,290.82 to them. In addition to that, for the transit pass, that's the C3 transit, we paid our first semester fees. So every semester we pay to them. So we paid $142,000 to them to keep that up and running. Also, our staff health and dental plan for the year. So this is for our full-time staff and also for Jose's Halloween event. So we had to pay the magician that he hired. Also for the month of October, we had to pay monthly income tax to CRA again. Also for our full-time staff retirement and saving plans for the month of May to October, we had to pay that up to them. And also for November health and dental premium, we have to pay $127,506.23. And that's our 20+ expenses.
Thank you for your reporting, McKim. Are there any questions for the VP Finance on the 2,000+ expenditures? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on our agenda for this evening, which is point 16, the audited financial statements. You, McKim, the floor is still yours.
I'll just try and quickly pull that up. 1 minute.
So folks, while we are waiting for you, McKim, to pull up her screen, we do have a full-time staff member with us. Our general manager, Melissa, is here to help with any questions that might arise from the 2019-2020 audited financial statements. In order for Melissa to be able to speak at this meeting, we need to extend speaking rights to her. So at this time, I am seeking a motion to extend speaking rights to our general manager. I see Brian.
Hello, I'd like to move that we extend speaking rights to a general manager, Melissa Morrow.
Thank you for that motion, Brian. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Samuel. Brian, would you like to speak to that motion?
Yes, I think it would be great to hear a bit from Melissa.
Great, thank you, Brian. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. You can vote using the polling function. Are folks able to see the poll right now? I'm seeing no votes coming in. Okay, we'll say yes. Hi folks, unfortunately due to some type of a glitch with Zoom, I think it happens when multiple people log in from the same account, I'm unable to see the voting that's happening on that poll, so I'm going to have to move to voting using the raise hand function. So all in favor of approval of extending speaking rights to our general manager using the raise hand function? All opposed? Any abstentions? If you're an abstention, please indicate so in the chat box. Seeing none, that motion has carried, and our general manager, Melissa, now has speaking rights. You, McKim, you can share screen and begin going through the financials at any time.
So this is the financial statement for UPEISU for April 30th, 2020. So this will be from 2019 up until April 30th, 2020. This is my first time doing this. Okay, so first of all, this is just the report from the auditors saying that the UPEISU is a non-for-profit organization, and they have to audit following the IFRS the specific Canadian financial standards that they have to follow. So this is just the information from the auditors, and so they are responsible. These are their different responsibilities. So they'll have to obtain different accounting information in order for them to audit appropriately. So here. So first of all, this is talking about our current assets. And investments, our accounts receivables, our inventories, prepaid expenses, and deposits. Also talking about our current liabilities from comparing 2019 and 2020. Also on the student health plan, government contributions, other revenues, student center funds, student fees, that's the money students pay to the UPEISU, transit fees, CASA fees, and all of the fees that we pay. Also, our expenses, the money we have to pay to campus trust to keep our plans running, lounge operations, student activities, special events, students union newspapers, yearbook, and all of those other expenses that we have to pay. Also, our operating activities, that's our excess revenue. So it shows here that in 2019 we lost 8,247,000. Also, amortization, there was an increase from 2019 to 2020 an increase because of the purchase of the UPEISU van. So that would start counting, that would start depreciating alongside of other assets that we have. Also, our increase and decrease in investment, increase in long-term debt and payments on long-term debt. So here it just talks about the purpose of the organization. So it says that we're a non-for-profit organization, and moving on. Capital renovation, this would be our student union, the renovation of the center, as well as the Fox and Crew. And here it talks of about our inventories, our purchases, as well as advertising and entertainment, licensing, and basically miscellaneous expenses that we have. And moving on to page 11. Yes, so as I earlier on said, our amortization, we added a new van, so that will be depreciating alongside our other assets. Also the banquets in 2020, we were not able to hold the banquets. Also our bad debt, things that we don't expect to get back from maybe purchase or something. Buy co-op, we started the buy co-op in 2020, so that's why we have that there, and we didn't have that in 2019. Donation and sports awards. In 2019, we held an award, but in 2020 we were not holding that, so that's why we have that. Also funding, handbook, what other thing, and Panther Patrol, professional fees, professional fees in 2019, it was much higher because we had to do some policies, HR stuff, and also we had to bring in people to review our policies and all of that. So that's why it was much more higher in that year as compared to 2020. And I'll just give it on to Melissa to give more details. And yeah, that's our financial statement.
Great, thank you very much, Nadia McKinn. Melissa, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I'll just leave it there. Did everyone get, I'm assuming it was sent out to everybody beforehand?
Yes, it was available in the council documents.
Okay, perfect. So everyone has seen it. So just a few things to highlight that on the revenue page, on the revenue expense page, the government contribution. So that was a new line item, which came out of the government wage subsidies through COVID. So we were eligible for wage subsidies. So for March and April, we continued to pay all of our staff full-time, well, all of our full-time staff, the executive, and then any student staff that were supposed to work until the end of April or their end of their term, we continued to pay their wages. It was a motion that was made through last year, but we did continue to pay everyone's wages at that point. So that's kind of where the government contribution line, why it's completely new. And as well in 2020, there's quite a bit of difference between the yearbook from one year to the next. And that was because the yearbook in 2019, the invoice never got paid till 2020. And then we also did a history book for in partnership with the university for the 50th anniversary of the university. So that was kind of the substantial increase in the yearbook pages there. And then back in the back section, just under the lounge operations, under the Fox and Crow, on the revenue side, it was down about $40,000, but we did lose a month and a half because of COVID, that we didn't get the revenue. Kind of we shut down after Beach Blast. And after that, there was quite a few events. It would have been, we were hoping that the Fox and Crow probably would have broke even in 2020. But because of COVID, we lost out on substantial amount of revenue from various events that we had booked to finish out the year. There was lots of campus events booked, as well as clubs and societies, plus some events that we were doing internally. So we were hoping for the Fox and Crow to break even in 2020, but that didn't happen. And then because we continued to pay our staff, our salaries were higher than expected. And as well, just unfortunate luck, but just right before COVID hit and we shut down, we did do some substantial inventory orders for food. So yeah, so we had some bigger purchases right on the end that would have got us through the year, but with COVID and shutting down, we had those costs on top of things that we weren't expecting. So, and then on the last page, I think Yuma can hit. The only big one on the last page that the auditors highlighted when they met with us was the interest in long-term debt. Why it went up so much from 2019 to 2020 was just because in 2019, we only paid 6 months of interest on the loan to UPEI for the renovations. And in 2020, we paid a full year's worth. So that was kind of the big difference in interest and long-term debt on the administrative expenses. And also in the notes, when they talk about long-term debt, there is a new one that was added in there this year. It's the 0% loan that is due by December 31st, 2025, or due in full, sorry, by December 31st, 2020. That was a loan that was introduced through COVID by the government of Canada, that all businesses, not-for-profit or for-profit businesses could apply for a $40,000 loan to help them get through the uncertainty of what was ahead. And with the uncertainty of knowing in the fall what student enrollment was going to be like, and talking with their auditors and with our bank, they suggested that we apply for the loan because it doesn't hurt us. It's a 0% loan, so we're not paying any interest on it, and that it's there if we need it to help get through, because of if there was a drop in enrollment or whatever because of COVID and the uncertainty. So we did apply for the loan. Enrollment in the fall has been fairly steady, so we're actually in a good financial position. So we already have paid back the loan to the government, so that loan has already been paid back. So we don't need to worry about that anymore either. So I think that's all the main things. The auditors, when they met with us, were very happy. Everything went well. The audit went well. They were able to get all the information they needed. They had no concerns going forward with anything, or the way that we were weigh-in of our accounting practices take place. So they were overall very happy with everything with the audit this year. So.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Are there any questions for the VP Finance or for the General Manager at this time about those audited financial statements?
Hi, please, I have a question, please.
Yes, floor is yours.
Could you please go back to the liability section? If you can go down. Yeah, if you can go down a little bit. Just keep going, just keep going. Okay, where it says where it like gives like the year 2019, 2020 and some amounts under the liability section, what are those amounts for? Oh no, it's under the liability section, like the last part of the liability section.
Yeah, is that on page 3 that you're talking about? Yeah. Okay, so the 2020, the accounts payable and accrued liabilities, which refers to note 7, but it is the medical, it's a medical premiums through the health and dental, is what that one there. Oh, sorry, I wrote my wrong note. Sorry, that's number 8. I'll go back. The accounts payable and accrued liabilities. That one there is any accounts that were paid. And I know exactly which one that is. With the HST payable, whenever we filed our quarterly HST with the government, there was an issue with the amount that we paid. So we had a payable to the government of Canada at the end of the year, which was paid in the 2021 or the current fiscal year. So that there was with a payment to the government, but that's all been settled in the 2021 year. The deferred revenue in note 8. So that was money we received for the medical and dental plan. So we received money for the medical and dental plan in September when everyone pays their fees. So we receive it in the 2020 year, but some of it doesn't actually get paid till the 2021 year. So that's the remainder of the medical and dental premiums that will be paid in the next fiscal year. So they just put it in there as a liability. And then the current portion of the long-term debt. So that's the current year, how much we'll be paying towards our debt for the renovations that were done to the building.
Okay, I have a last question, please. If can you please scroll down, like, no, take it up a little bit. Take it up. No, I mean at the liability section too. Yeah, keep scrolling up, please.
Akina, do you have access to this document?
Okay. Give me one.
This document would have gone out in the email when you click for the additional documents.
Okay. That's okay for now. I'll just check it up later on. If there's any question, I'll
Great, thank you very much for your question, Akimi. I see Jose. Jose, did you have a question?
Hello?
Yes, Jose, did you have a question?
No, I don't.
Oh, sorry, your hand is raised.
Oh, sorry about that.
Any additional questions on this report?
Yeah. How
Oh,
do,
the whole time?
how do I lower my hand?
The whole time?
Hold on.
Seeing no additional questions, we will move. I am willing to entertain a motion to approve the 2019-2020 audited financial statements as presented. Can I get a motion for that, please? I see Carrie.
I would like to move a motion to approve the 2020 expenditure. Sorry, what is it called?
Audited financial statements.
The audited financial statements.
Thank you very much for your motion. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by the residence rep. Star. Carrie, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you.
Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Seeing no one, and as we are still having an issue with the polling function, we'll be voting using the raise hand function. So all in favor of approval of the 2019-2020 audited financial statements?
I didn't get a poll.
Yes, so there won't be a poll right now. You're voting using the raise hand function. The polling function is disabled because there's more than one person logged in using the UPEISU account.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All opposed? And are there any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion has carried and those financial statements have been approved. At this time, I will be seeking a motion to rescind speaking rights from our general manager.
I'd like to raise a motion to rescind speaking rights to our lovely general manager.
Thank you, Malik. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Sam, education rep. Malik, would you like to speak to that motion?
Thank you, Melissa and Yumakin.
Would anyone else like to speak to that motion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote, once again using the raise hand function. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion has carried. Thank you to Melissa for her help with the audited financial statements. That now moves us to the next item on our agenda for this evening, which is ratification of new UPEISU societies. Jose, are there any new societies waiting for ratification?
No, they're not.
Great, thank you very much. That concedes that agenda item. The next agenda item for this evening is point 18, new business. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to new business? This is the time where you could raise a new motion. You could discuss anything of concern within your faculty, anything like that. And this is a final call for, oh, I see a Yumakin. Yes, floor is yours, a Yumakin.
So I kind of I don't know if it's possible to ask the councillor to move a motion to review policies for the emergency fund. So a separate policy is created and we could keep that funding.
Yes, that's great. Thank you, Ayumakin. So our VP Finance is asking if a councillor would like to raise a motion to have, I assume, the governance committee create a policy for the emergency fund? Yes, great. Thank you. Can I get a motion to that effect? I see Carrie.
I would like to move a motion. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. For
Governance committee to create a policy.
For
The UPEISU emergency fund.
the UPEISU emergency fund.
Great. Thank you very much for your motion. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by the VPSL. Carrie, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you.
Great. Would anyone else like to speak to that motion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. Once again, using the raise hand function. All in favor of approval of governance committee to create a policy for the UPEISU emergency fund? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion has carried. We are now back to new business. Would anyone else like to speak to new business? I see the VPSL. Floor is yours.
Yep. Hello. I would just like to remind everybody that if you do have Facebook and you are yet to join our UPEISU street team / volunteer squad group on Facebook, I strongly recommend all of you to do so. I'm probably gonna need a lot of help for my 2 event weeks happening later in November. And I've already had 4 counselors help me by volunteering or participating. So it's a great opportunity for all of you to get those volunteering opportunities in. I strongly recommend you to do so. Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Jose. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during new business this evening? Seeing none, we will move to the last point on our agenda for this evening, which is adjournment. At this time, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'd like to raise a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Thank you, Malik. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Ala. Malik, would you like to speak to that motion?
Thank you everyone for being here and thank you for your attention.
Would anyone else like to speak to that motion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. Once again, using the raise hand function. All in favor of adjournment? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion has carried. I call this meeting adjourned at 8:56 p.m. Have a great evening, folks. That's the end of tonight's meeting.